definitely creating content that helps people is really the solution.
What really works is building a community, consistently doing events like webinars, and producing content specifically for certain categories.
You earn that raise and you earn that job.
Welcome to Future Fuzz, the digital marketing podcast.
Hey everybody, welcome to the next edition of Future Fuzz, the B2B digital marketing podcast. I'm joined today by Justin Vaco from Wisconsin. Justin, what an amazing name. Such a pleasure to have you on the podcast today.
Thanks, Justin. Likewise.
Justin is a pioneer of video marketing, especially in the LinkedIn space with B2B founders. He's a speaker. He's a dad of 5, fair play, I've only got 2, and a self-confessed terrible golfer. Why are we talking to Justin today? Well, he's just really good at video. And as we know, that's super hot right now. Justin, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Justin. Appreciate it.
So how did you get into this space in the first place?
So I was running a generalist marketing agency starting in 2018 full-time. And I'd read this book a couple years in called Built to Sell by John Warrillow. And it's in my top 3 book recommendations. And in that book, John describes the life of a stressed out marketing agency owner. I was like, wait, this is me? I thought it was going to be a generic advice book. I forget who recommended the book to me, but it turns out that it was speaking directly to me because I was doing everything for everybody. And so was the protagonist in this book. And he wanted to sell. He wanted to get out of it. He was burned out and he couldn't because he was doing too many things for too many people. He was too in the weeds with the work.
Yeah.
And so he finds a mentor who's been there, done that, and the mentor shows him a better way. And then there's a twist at the end. I won't ruin it because it's a fantastic book. Highly recommend it. And that inspired me to, I'll give you one takeaway from the book. The main takeaway was you got to build a productized service if you want to scale your business, really. You can scale without that, but it's very difficult. And so I kept my eyes out for what is that thing I want to do that is scalable, that is something I enjoy, that I'm good at, and that people want to pay money for. You could also call that product market fit if you wanted. And a few years later, I came across this opportunity where I was doing graphic design for a client. This was in the fall of 22. And they wanted to do some video, but they could not afford our rate of $12,000 plus travel to fly out to LA to go do the video shoot for 2 days. And so I thought, well, let's try doing a remote video session instead and asking you some questions and walking you through the answers and then see how that goes. And we spent 30 minutes together and he was terrible on camera. He never made eye contact. He stuttered. The lighting wasn't the greatest. He was a 70-year-old, well-accomplished broker. He was a well-known household name in LA as a broker.
Right.
But we got through the session and edited the videos, sent them to his team. They posted it to his Instagram. And his videos went from 100 views on average to well over 1,000 to 5,000 on average per video. And it got me realizing, and this again is with poor performance, poor lighting and all that. And it got me realizing, okay, this guy clearly has an audience that want to hear from him, but they're just not hearing from him. I wonder if there are other people like that. And that was the start of Dialogue Video Marketing.
Great. And did you have the foresight then that video was going to be so big and growing so quickly in the B2B space?
I had already seen it.
You already seen it? Yeah.
I was already seeing it. I mean, that paying client, that was our first paying client. And I realized if he's willing to do this remotely, I bet there are others too. So that was market validation for me.
And do you think that COVID's accelerated the whole thing? Also things like equipment's getting cheaper. People can build mini studios in their house. Like this is one of my rooms in my house, turned it into a studio, right? Yeah. So it's more accessible, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the biggest thing that's happening is more people are going, I think the older generations are realizing, oh, social media is for educational content as well. And I don't need production studio quality. And then our generation, millennial and younger, already knows that. And so as more generations enter the workforce that are less about production quality, it's just going to forever be, it's not a trend. It's forever going to be the new normal where we don't have to have this level of polish that we've always expected from video media from the last 100-ish years.
Right. Yeah. And I think about older decision makers. So they're sort of like maybe baby boomers are running companies potentially, but also millennials are a huge proportion of decision makers in business now, right?
Yeah.
And millennials expect video.
Right.
I'm not going to sit there reading blogs all day, are they? Especially with the proliferation of AI generated content, right? That's also changing it.
Yeah, that's a good point, the AI point. I think it's not video versus blogs. I think what it is because I read all the time. People still read. It has to do with the fact that there's a lot of things happening. Number one, we're a digital first society now. You're not talking to your buddy who knows a buddy who knows a buddy and then meeting for them for coffee as much as you were 30 years ago.
Right.
That's all you had. We're going online. And when you move online, it means that you have to gather information from various sources to know how legitimate this person is and how legitimate is their offer and have they been there, done that. Back in the day, you could have coffee or talk to a friend. We're not doing that as much, so we're using online reviews, or in this case, video, to know whether somebody actually knows their stuff. That's the first thing. And then the other thing you touched on was the AI thing. Yeah, a lot of people are starting to realize there's a lot of AI crap out there. And I see it all the time, especially on LinkedIn. And video is a way to prove you're human, if nothing else. There's more layers to it than that. But again, going back to that first point, prove you know what you're talking about. I mean, it's very difficult to talk about anything that is a complex subject in the B2B space on video. And so if you don't know your stuff, you're probably not going to do video. So video is a legitimizer of authority, I would argue, not just against AI, but in general.
When you say like you spot it on LinkedIn in terms of generative AI, can you like embellish? Can you go in a bit more detail with stuff that you see?
You see it a lot in the comments.
Yeah.
There's these agents now. You can buy subscriptions to these softwares, and we'll comment 1,000 times a week for you, or whatever. And then you see it in the comments, and what that often looks like is literally a comment that just repeats the post in a summarized version. There's no value added.
Yeah, I've seen that.
You've seen that,
absolutely.
and it's a common problem, and it is just it. I get it on my posts regularly, and I just don't. I don't interact with it. I don't want to encourage it. I don't want to do anything with it. An untrained eye, so to speak, which, by the way, I think that's going to change as we start to see more AI content. An untrained eye may not see it right away, but yeah, if you see the telltale sign is if you see a comment that's literally not adding any value, and it's just a small paragraph, that's probably AI.
Put a bit of mumbo jumbo, right?
Yeah, it sounds great because it's just a rehash of the post, but it doesn't add anything. It doesn't add a point of view or anything like that.
Yeah, 100%. I definitely can pick out the ones which says like, what's your opinion on this? Like it seems to be that GPT always says, what's your opinion? What do you think? Put your message in
I just shared what I
comments.
think. Why are you asking me?
Yeah, yeah, right. Do you think, we're going on a bit of a LinkedIn tangent now, but you do, post your videos on LinkedIn, I believe almost daily, right?
Yeah, it's B2B, so it's all about LinkedIn. And I post to the other platforms, but I get all my leads and all my attention on LinkedIn.
On LinkedIn, yeah. Okay. Justin, do you think then that, LinkedIn being owned by Microsoft is detecting that AI is being used to produce posts in the first place?
That's a good question. I'm not a LinkedIn insider, but I would not be surprised if they have or are building something like that. Ironically, when AI first started coming out in the last year or two, last couple of years, I've heard some people say that AI created content had more views overall in tech stuff. And right, that's ironic. Like, okay, so that probably means that they haven't built anything around that, but I don't know. I can't confirm that. I haven't experienced that for myself. I don't do AI created content. It's a waste of my time. But as I would argue, it's a waste of anyone's time to do it from scratch and never add. When I say AI created content, I mean content that you are literally prompting AI,
right,
copying and pasting.
Yeah,
that's what I mean. Just to be clear,
you can see through it. I have a sneaky suspicion that they are able to detect it because they'll see patterns. One thing that I'm wary of is that AI never makes a spelling mistake, and the grammar is pretty much always the same, right?
Yeah.
So in my LinkedIn messages that I send to people, I put in the occasional spelling mistake, and people pick up.
You added it in.
Yeah, of course.
It's like putting a hair in the recipe. Oh my gosh, I can't stand it. I can't.
This is made by a real person. There's my hair in the soup, right? And then two people out of like 100 messages have picked up on that. And they said, oh, by the way, you spelled seminar wrong. And I'm like, yeah, I did, but on purpose so that you know that that message wasn't written with AI.
Isn't
and they
that
were like,
funny? We're
touche.
gonna have to add in silly things like that. There's a guy I follow. He's also in the video space. Really great guy, Alex Sheridan, and he writes his posts that go with his videos without any punctuation, with a lot of lower cases, without any uppercase. And when you read his post, you're like, it looks like he wrote it. It looks like he wrote it because it's
Right.
sloppy, but it's
Yeah.
legible. So. He's always done it that way, but I'm like, isn't that genius? For now, he's got a counterfeit proof post to show it's not AI.
You know it's him, and it's more authentic, it's more human. Yeah.
Future Fuzz is sponsored by SalesSource, B2B pipeline management and sales growth for your business.
If people want to get more into video for, B2B and building relationships, what would be like your 3 top tips?
Just in B2B in general, or using video? What do you mean?
Well, yeah. So if you're, let's come at it. I'm an entrepreneur, right? I'm stuck with ideas. I want to grow market share. I want to get out there a lot more. I want to do more content. So coming at it from a standpoint that I'm selling to, let's say, other software companies, for example.
Got it.
Where do I start?
Where do you start? And you're using LinkedIn. Well, I would say let's use this in the context of LinkedIn. 3 things, 3 tips. So I would say focus in on LinkedIn because we're a digital first society. It's where everybody is in the B2B space. If you're not using LinkedIn and you're in B2B and you're trying to do sales, it's like saying I'm not gonna drink water because I don't like you just got to. It's essential now in this digital age. So it's not really a tip, but let's assume that's the vessel or the context for the 3 tips. So using LinkedIn, when you're on LinkedIn, you want to use it as a network. The first tip is use it as a networking platform. Don't use it as a post and ghost platform like a TikTok or a YouTube. So if you're creating content, don't post it and then leave. Actually post it and stay for 15 minutes and then respond to comments and comment on other people's stuff. So use it as a networking platform.
So stick around. Like if people are messaging you in the comments, etc., stick around when you post it.
Stick around. Yeah, you don't have to stick around that moment that you post, but at some point on a regular routine, daily, weekly, you've got to do something because the LinkedIn algorithm actually rewards presence on the platform, commenting and DMs. I've studied this. I've done this. If there's a week when I don't comment on other people's stuff or I don't respond to DMs, my views are 1/10 of what they normally are.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And so that's really important. I don't know if I'm going to cover all 3, but I'm going to kind of give you my basic overall idea of how this works. So post content. If you're not sure how to do content, I guess this will be step number 2. Find a buddy internally within your company or if you're a founder, another founder, or somebody you know, like, and trust, or somebody you're trying to build a relationship with that's a key partner. Meet regularly, every month, every other week, on a video call like you and I are doing. Ask each other questions about each other's businesses. Record the session. I call that the content buddy system because by doing so, you're going to build a deep relationship with that person. You're also, as a side benefit, going to create all this content that's in your head that you're never talking about probably. And you're going to be able to use it either for video content. And if you're not comfortable with the video content, you can use the transcript and turn that into some posts with a little bit of editing and things like that.
That's great
That's
advice.
how you create the content.
Yeah.
And then you spend time, 15 minutes a day, commenting and responding to things. And it takes time. This is a muscle you got to build. It's like going to the gym for the first time, right?
Mm-hmm.
One comment, one day. That's fine. That's something. Something's better than nothing. Creating content, you're commenting. And then if you're in sales, this is probably a very comfortable thing. You're doing the DMs. That's what we all associate with LinkedIn. Is like, oh, the spammy DMs. But when I say DMs, you're really starting conversations with people that are profile viewers of because they're going to see you from your comments. Right. They're going to check out your profile, or they're going to see your content, check out your profile. So giving your chance to connect with them, send them a DM. Hey, curious, what made you check out my profile? Right. Just starting with curiosity, starting conversations instead of sending, here's everything we do. Like, no, that's not how real life relationships work. And guess what? LinkedIn mimics real life relationships. It's just a tool to connect people. So if you're not treating a relationship with a person the same way you would in real life, you're going to fail. That's why we get all the spam and it doesn't work. But if you start with a question about them and you build from there, that's how I would use the platform. And that's how I've built my business, is through LinkedIn video content, but all these other practices as well, in terms of just being a reasonable, normal, helpful human being
You're striking up a conversation, right? You're striking up a conversation. You're communicating with another human at the end of the line. At the
Video is
other
not,
side.
yeah, because I do video and I tell people, I train my clients on this all the time. Video is not going to be like a silver bullet. It's like you post, like I said earlier, you can't just post and leave and get all these leads. It doesn't work like that. It can work. The problem is it can work, and we assume it can work because we hear from somebody it can work. But you know who we're hearing that from? The accounts with more than 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 followers. The ginormous accounts that already have built up an audience and that's used to hearing from them, and then their buddies see it. Oh, we should. So it can work, but probably not for the average Joe on LinkedIn. You have to start where everyone starts, which is using it as a networking platform.
Brilliant advice, Justin. I'm springing all these questions on you, right? Because we've gone straight into the podcast. Never spoken before, chatted a bit on LinkedIn. It's a bit experimental. You have been featuring in the new LinkedIn video feed where, some people are familiar with it, some people less so. Yeah. And they might flick past it immediately, but you've got a few features there. So if you go on LinkedIn, especially on the mobile app, you get to this section where you've got videos that go horizontally across your screen. If you go into one video, then you go into this, feed, TikTok style, Reels style video feed where you can slide up. And you can also access that feature on the video button at the bottom of the LinkedIn app. Now, how have you got into there?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's a lottery. It's a lottery to get into that video feed. The only way you get a home run in that video feed is if you got to make your at-bats, to use a baseball analogy. So if you post regular video content under 2 minutes vertical, you have a chance to get picked up by the algorithm and get featured in the LinkedIn mobile video feed. So we've had some clients that's happened to them, gotten hundreds of thousands of views combined. A couple of my videos, one got 50,000, another got 300, 400,000 impressions, not views. I should make that distinction.
Which one got that many views?
Oh, it was one from last fall. I had 2 back-to-back over the Thanksgiving period. I can't tell you off the top of my head. I think it was, I do know one of them was, the latest one was, it was about, are you team B-roll or not team B-roll?
Yeah, that was it. That's the one that I saw. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and then there was one before that got even more views. So what's interesting about the LinkedIn mobile video feed is a lot of people aren't aware of it, but having experienced it a couple times is that, you would think, oh, it's just giving you free views. That's free views is great. But what I discovered from being featured in there is that, you get a lot of impressions and views, and you get some followers of middling quality. I get random folks that would never be my ideal buyer following me. That's fine. They can follow me. That's not the value. The value I got from being featured in the LinkedIn mobile video feed was that my first degree network was highly more likely to see my video content. It must have showed up in the top of their feed because the engagement I got from my first degree network was over half of the engagement of the total video. And it got over 100 likes or something like that.
Right.
And my average video gets anywhere from 10 to 30 likes. So to get, let's say, 50 likes from my first degree network, that's massive for me because my first degree network is where I'm building relationships with ideal clients or power partners. And that's where I want to be seen more. So there's a very direct benefit to being featured in the LinkedIn mobile video feed. And it is that your audience that is your first degree network is more likely to see your content.
LinkedIn have definitely been introducing features a lot over the years, but I have a funny feeling that this one's actually going to stick. Right? There were some others, there was status update and everything like that. They kind of flopped, but I feel like this is sticking around. Yeah. I listened to an amazing podcast recently. I forget the guy's name, but I'll try and put the link in the show notes. Is that they're saying so if you're going with video and selfies, that it tends to go to your first degree network first, people that like you, engage with you, etc. They know you, they trust you, and then it folds out from there. But if you're posting contents like statistics and graphics and flowcharts and some kind of analysis, that will go to followers. So that's something that I heard recently.
I've never paid attention to that. I'd have to look at that. I don't do a lot of charts and things like that. I have in the past, but not consistently these days. It's mostly video and text.
I've heard it's worth mixing it up. So charts and PDFs, which are basically carousels. Right?
Yeah, I've done carousels. Those have always been really good. Yeah, there's no one medium I say is better than the rest. I don't say video is better than the rest, other than in one way. You can read to your heart's content somebody's content, but until you watch a video of them, you're not going to know what they're like. Because when you read in your own voice. When you watch a video, it's their voice, it's their mannerisms, it's their whatever, their personality. And nothing builds trust faster than that. That's why face-to-face is so important, right? A salesperson wants to get on a call. Why? Because face-to-face intuitively builds trust faster. Next best thing is video content. So that's how it is better. But in terms of creating content, I don't care how people do it. I wish more founders and people who should be creating content would be doing that. And that's my mission in my business.
So you heard it here first. Video builds trust. Justin, absolute pleasure having you on the podcast today. You can find Justin on LinkedIn. It's Justin, best name in the world, and surname Vajko with Dialogue Video Marketing. It's been a pleasure. Thank you, Justin.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in and making the choice to listen to this podcast. If you liked what you've heard today, please don't forget to subscribe.